rough game previously to the Pirate Warrior, still going to have a handful to try and take this Freeze Mage down.
And we see one of the tech cards already in Sintolol's hand, the Demon Fire, which could potentially allow him to get off to maybe some sort of fast start and rush down Bunnyhoppor, but it's not going to be an easy task for him. Freeze Mage is one of the highest win rate decks against Zoo Warlock in the entire game of Hearthstone, so it's going to be absolutely brutal to try and pick apart a win here, but Demon Fire, maybe buffing a minion outside of range of Frostbolt and what have you, could be a way that Sintolol is able to get victory here. So we do see him keep it off the mulligan. A pretty aggressive keep here of, you know, play Flame Imp, hope it doesn't die, Demon Fire that bad boy, and take him to Pound Town.
Yeah, I think in unfavored matchups, you kind of have to take the risks, right? And you have to try and just go all out on a tactic and just hope it works because, as you said, Freeze Mage is kind of built to beat Zoo. Exactly. I think it's the one deck that the heaviest board, like, centric deck based on minions is Zoo. And then Freeze Mage is built to win those matchups. So
yeah, and
very
Bunnyhoppor
difficult.
has a Flame Strike in his list as well. He cut one of the ice barriers for Flame Strike, which kind of hurt him against in potentially maybe the Face Hunter matchup or other matchups like that. But it really, and against the Pirate Warrior, it kind of hurt him. But in this matchup, that extra board clear is really, really good.
Yeah, going to be able to just reduce down the board later on. And
that's
even better than the Frostbolt.
It's interesting, though. You have Frostnova Doomsayer, right? You do know your opponent runs Crazed Alchemist. You saw them keep 2 cards, so you can kind of expect one of those could potentially be Crazed Alchemist. You know one of the kept cards is the Flame Imp, so yeah, he's saving it for the Frostnova Doomsayer, which I think is quite risky. Or no, I think is quite safe. Yeah. Because if it is a Crazed Alchemist, that other kept card by Sintolol,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, they just flip that and then hit you in the face with the Flame Imp, you just get blown out. So Bunnyhoppor taking the safe route here by just clearing it. Now he sees the Demon Fire get discarded, which was the other kept card, which reduces the chances of Sintolol having the Crazed Alchemist in his hand very, very dramatically at this point.
Yeah, that's why he's playing Demon Fire. Needs to put cards in the deck that he's okay with discarding, it seems.
There you go. So at this point, I think it's quite reasonable, honestly, to just drop the Doomsayer because none of your opponent's cards are kept cards, which means they'd had 4 draws to try and naturally draw into the Crazed Alchemist. You know, 5 if they tap, and the odds of them having it are greatly, you know, against them.
Just go for the ping on the library.
Yeah, he's saving it for the Frostnova for the big board sweep combo, which is greedy. It's a little greedy because you're giving your opponent more potential chances to try and find that that Crazed Alchemist that could blow you out. But you know, he doesn't have too many big sweepers in the midst of things, so slowing down to try and find them. You know, maybe if he had the Blizzard at the time, he would have been okay with Doomsayering because then your opponent doesn't develop on 4, then on 5 you Frostnova, then on 6 you Blizzard, then on 7 you Flame Strike, and then they're probably dead.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Bunnyhoppor's got available to him going forward, which is kind of scary. Just repeat board clears, which is kind of horrible for the Zoo player here. And going into Doomguard, not too terrible. Ooh. Oh. With Soulfire as well.
It's kind of awkward having all the discard cards in your hand like that, but I think it's Defender of Argus and then show him who's boss.
Yeah, why not at this point? Again, like turn 5, you're not really expecting any hard AoE anyway, so you could just go aggressive and just say, well, if you're going to freeze, you're going to freeze. There's not much you can do about it. And this is not the craziest peddler I've ever seen, to be honest, Firebat.
Well, the Stone Tusk Boar is actually 3 damage because of the Direwolf Alphas. You can attack with both the Direwolf Alphas, then put the Stone Tusk Boar in the middle and attack with that. I think the reason why Sintolol went with this line of play is because if he does Argus the 2 Direwolf Alphas, it actually doesn't increase his damage output by anything because they stop buffing each other because the Argus has to be placed in the middle. So you'd have to kind of place the Argus off to one side to increase the damage by 1. So,
which feels kind of weird.
Feels kind of weird, yeah.
Don't get the health benefits. It's just going to tap, though.
Yeah, going for tap. I guess he assumes that, you know, Blizzard can't come down yet. It's not turn 6. So the Direwolves are likely going to be like left around. Probably anticipates a Frostnova Doomsayer. So when that happens, you can still just slot in that Stone Tusk Boar, push that 3 damage face. If we're looking at Sintolol's hand right now, you got Doomguard for 5, Soulfire for 4, Stone Tusk Boar for 3, and that's already up to 12 damage. So he's closing in here on a decent amount of damage to potentially be able to make something happen.
If he can discard very well.
Yeah.
Like, that's the trick. As that combo is going to be 3-card discard.
Ooh.
Another Soulfire coming out. He does have the Imp that he can use to at least
has-
cycle cards with.
Yeah, he has the imp he could cycle with, and he could go for board control here. If he goes for board control, he's going to get absolutely destroyed by this Blizzard, which is just going to kill everything. But he does have the ability here to, instead of going face, use the Stone Tusk board plus the Soulfire to kill the Doomsayer off to try and maintain your board, or just use the Doom Guard to kill off the Doomsayer to maintain your board. Okay. That puts a lot more pressure and helps you play around Blizzard a little bit. I like it.
Yeah, it's really nice. And like we see Sintolol like really utilizing this double Direwolf and having the options. Even though he didn't use the ball was there as a strong option, as you said, straight away for the 3 damage. And this is not too bad either.
Yeah,
Can just guarantee the golem.
Can clean up the Thalnos if he wants to.
No one is the boss of that imp. I've never actually realized his voice line. That's kind of hilarious. But now,
the second Doom Guard. Holy smokes.
even Sinta's surprised.
Yeah.
He's like, into a golem as well. Why not?
This might be the Zoo hand that can do it. He's got to start worrying about how much he's tapping because Bunnyhoppor is playing, a more burst variant of Freeze Mage with the Evolved Kobold in there. If you start tapping towards those like 15, 18 sort of life totals, you can just get 1 turn killed out of nowhere. But
this is so tense because just glancing, it looks like this is a clear Flame Strike because Bunnyhoppor's in a position where there's a lot of damage represented. He's only on 15. He doesn't have any secrets up, but he does have Ice Lance. So he could Ice Lance the Doom Guard.
And play Emperor.
And play Emperor, which then kind of forces a response and makes your Arcane Intellect cheaper next turn. Makes your Flame Strike cheaper to be able to weave in potentially a Ping or something else the following turn. So I think this turn is going to be a test of Bunnyhoppor's restraint.
And
he
really
is
don't
going
like
for the Flame Strike.
Yeah, I like your play much, much better, the Ice Lance and the Emperor Thorsan. We've seen already both Soulfires. We know there's no Power Overwhelmings in the list, so you know you're not dead, and you know your opponent has to play minions, and they have to extend into Flame Strike. So you're just going to be milking way more value out of that Flame Strike. And now instead, you have no board freezes and no board clears in your hand, and you have a clunky hand that you can't Arcane Intellect into Blizzard with. So I don't like Bunnyhoppor's play there with the Flame Strike. I think it was...
And also just having Emperor down, because Emperor's just a threat in itself. Yeah. Even though Zoo wants to be the aggressor and end the game quickly, if you leave Emperor up more than 1 turn, you can just die, no matter what health you're on. Like, that's the kind of the threat level you're under, and it's just going to clear off the 3/3 Golem. Now, here comes the Ice Lance. So the odds on him dying this turn, I think, they're impossible, right? There are no cards.
Nothing's impossible, right? There's
both Soulfires are gone, both Doom Guards
he doesn't
are gone.
run Abusive Sergeant.
No.
Well, he had to get Crazed Alchemist plus Peddler into Soulfire or Power Overwhelming was lethal. So there was still like a 1 in a million.
Huh? The Doom Guard's frozen.
I mean, if it wasn't frozen.
Yeah, right, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he sets up a position which he cannot die no matter what because of the cards he's seen. Soulfire from the Peddler.
Yeah. If the Doom Guard wasn't frozen, that would have been lethal right there.
Yeah.
The juggle misses both of the loot hoarders, which isn't great for Sintolol.
Voidwalker's going to help out, though.
Yeah, that pretty much bails out the juggler there, gets the job done.
Oof. Smog. Juggler doesn't want to mess about hitting minions. It's just face or nothing. And Sintolol's deciding where he's going to go with this Soulfire. And I feel like face is only the place here.
Well, this is the second Soulfire, right? And
it's the third.
I mean, the third, Peddler, and the second Peddler. So there's no more discard cards remaining in Sintolol's deck except for Darkshire Librarian. So I think it's fine to kind of be holding on to it. And Barrier's not a bad draw, but I think you Arcane Intellect first, just in case you hit
There's another Frost Nova, another Blizzard that you can use as well. Yeah, I think I like Intellect first.
Or, well, Loot Hoarders first, actually.
Yeah,
of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty well-rounded turn, just getting all of that stuff down. The Arcane Intellect and the 2 Secrets even, worst case. You're looking at 9 damage coming in, and you're at 16. So odds are, your opponent's got max burst out of hand of 4 because both Doom Guards are gone, both Soulfires are gone, and they have a Peddler card in their hand. So you can expect maybe 6 burst if they hit 2 minions off of...
So is he just gonna go for the? Let's go for the Ice Block. And the barrier, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if, because, you know, as you were mentioning about what's been used, the barrier would have been enough, right?
The barrier would have been enough for him not to be able to get popped because Sintolol does not run abusive sergeants, which is kind of a strange addition. You know, abusive sergeants got nerfed, and he decided, you know what, not good enough anymore. We're getting these guys out of here.
Out, yeah. Disenchant. Slam done. So, not even got him in the collection.
I think honestly, like even though the decks are public, Bunnyhoppor may be playing around abusive sergeant just because you expect it.
Yeah, you're so used to it. Yeah.
You know, it's been there for 2.5 years. So it's pretty crazy that it's not in there anymore. Just one attack stat, and suddenly, not good enough.
I think it's still pretty okay, to be honest, in general. But we are going to see the attack in from Sintolol. Proc the Ice Barrier, of course. No surprise, as both secrets were played. So Sintolol has to now work out what he needs to do to finish this game. It's getting progressively more awkward.
He's too afraid of, you know, tapping into potentially, you know, lethal ranges.
Alexstrasza is pretty big.
Yeah,
he doesn't even need to use it this turn, but in general, he still could. And there's no great answer to it.
It's an 8-8.
Yes, it is. It's definitely an 8-8.
Sometimes you just need an 8-8. He's still got the ice block up. He can set himself up to 16 life because of the armor there, and contest the Doomguard quite nicely.
As we said, there's realistically no burst left in the deck. We know there's the Soulfire there, but there's been Peddlers as well for extra Soulfires. It's like, how does he kill this? He just doesn't. Or if he trades into it, Argus is probably the best draw he could have got there to be able to force damage and not let Alexstrasza smack you in the face. But there's no way he can kill Alexstrasza because then he just has no way to close out the game. So Argus is actually pretty huge now.
And the question is, do you play the Flame Imp? You kind of committed to not playing it by not playing it last turn and not tapping or anything, but now you're under the clock of this 8-8. Can you really afford to try and play around Burst at this point in time, or do you have to just kind of YOLO go all in?
It's just a tough one because there's been a Frostbolt and 2 Torches played.
2 Torches have been played, a Frostbolt has been played, an Ice Lance has been played.
No fire.
Wasn't
that last game with the Fireball?
Last game, yeah. There's been no Fireballs.
So that's what's... There's Fireballs and Torches in the deck.
Yeah, there's 4 Fireballs essentially in the deck. And so he really does not want to fall down into double Fireball range, but he does go with the tap here, which is getting him into that range. You know, and Bunnyhoppor just needs a few pings, basically, at this point to be able to kill him if he has double Fireball.
Yeah, and he can't proc the block, which is huge, because now we're at the point in almost every Freeze Mage game where all the Mage needs to do is just buy one more turn, one more turn, one more turn, done. And that's the game. So he's going to have to draw, though, because it's very minion heavy with the Kobold, the Acolyte of Pain, and the Emperor, which could have come down so long ago.
Yeah.
So long ago.
I think it would have been a much easier game had he done it that way, but he's still in a pretty great spot as long as he's able to hit a freeze effect off this Arcane Intellect. He's got 1 Blizzard, 1 Frost Nova remaining in the deck, so the odds are pretty decent for him to hit it as his deck is very thin at this point. And even the Fireball there is good enough, right? Like, you can well, actually, no, it's not. You're going to leave up 4 power with the Fireball, and that Peddler card's been sitting there for a really long time. So you're expecting it to either be Soulfire or Power Overwhelming at this point. So you most likely have to go with the Fireball and the Lance. And that's fine. You still have 3 more Fireballs in the deck, so you have enough burn to finish it off. And plus, you're setting up Alexstrasza to be able to connect, so a Fireball off the top would then be lethal, or any freeze effect allowing Alexstrasza to connect again, because this is the second Argus, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so any freeze effect allowing Alexstrasza to connect twice would win the game. So I like Fireball on the 3/6, plus, you know, Ice Lance the 2/3.
Just greatly, well, almost guarantees that your block won't get procced. And, you know, again, worst case, he can Acolyte Ping next turn and still have some, you know, plenty of options available to him to continue the game. And plus, this is just another issue where there's an 8-2 on the board. I have a 2-2. Normally that looks like a good trade, except I'm really trying to prop this Ice Block soon.
Yeah, it might be time to... Is it time to commit the Flame Imp? Probably not.
Does he?
It's too low, right? You get way too close to being able to die. At that point, you die to Evolved Kobold Fireball Ping, so...
Never a good way to go.
Never a good way to go. The second Ice Block available for Bunnyhoppor, that means He's got extra time here, so he can just Acolyte Ping, and if he strings together 2 burn spells, that'll be all she wrote.
Yeah, he just managed to buy so much additional time. And, you know, the Ice Lance is probably, even more card draw with the Novice Engineer, why not? The Ice Lance early on was just MVP, but no burn available, but a Doomsayer, which...
Heals for 7. You play that out there, most likely Sintolol is going to have to make a decision. Does he kill the Doomsayer, or does he pop the Ice Block?
Yeah, I mean, so let's think. There's nothing in the deck left that does instant from hand damage, right? Because there's no Horse Riders in the deck for the Zoo player. Is there another Juggler?
I think there is one more Juggler, yeah.
Okay, so Juggler's the only card that can provide any form of instant on-demand damage, and even that's going to be difficult when you've got no other cards in hand, which forces you to tap, which then means you're just more likely to die the following turn. So this is such a close ending in the Doomsayer. This is where Sintolol's going to be asked the question of, do you think you can kill this? And if you do, it's going to buy me time one way or the other. But there's the Alchemist!
There it is.
Never mind, decision made. Alchemist, goodbye Doomsayer, crack on, prot the Ice Block, and then now he's going to put Bunnyhoppor under even more pressure. But he still has his second Ice Block available to him, so he can still continue to buy turns to get that burst together.
There is somewhat of a question here of if you still ignore the Doomsayer and use the Crazed Alchemist to help pop without having to tap. Because tapping is very dangerous, and you could potentially pop without tapping this turn to set up for Soulfire to be lethal. So I kind of like that play to play around, you know, some sort of Fireball, Frostbolt, Ping lethals.
Yeah, this is pretty much just, you know, you need the exact damage. I can proc you with Soulfire, but we can see the second Ice Block available, so if he's forced to use the Soulfire in the following turn, then he's got no way to do the final 1 damage outside of Juggler, which is kind of hilarious. There's a Fireball, though.
Yeah, it's really interesting how this is panning out and how much Sintolol is really valuing his life total. And just kind of making it as awkward as possible for Bunnyhoppor to make the lethal happen here, but the second Ice Block is going to be upsetting, and
you just like Emperor here, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's no good way to deal with it left.
No, you have to ping the 1/1. You have to ping the 1/1. I would ping the 1/1 and develop the Evolved Kobold. You do not want the 1/1 just proccing your Ice Block. You want to force them to have to use Soulfire or what have you to get through the Ice Block to make it as difficult as possible, or have to develop a minion into it.
To be honest, I forgot there was the Possessed Villager on the board before the Doomsayer. That was like looking at the Count Summon and the Doomsayer. There was a lot going on. The Villager was just chilling under my notice. But yeah, you of course do not want the Ice Block pinged in. Imp Gang Boss not gonna do too much. See here, Evolve Kobold with the +2 spell damage. Super powerful minion overall, and Sintolol is gonna be able to proc the Ice Block with the Soulfire.
And he's not dead on board. There's 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. He's been really keeping his life total high, and that could allow him to squeeze out a victory here, but not quite. The torch is drawn.
Only a matter of time, to be honest. Bunnyhoppor went so long without drawing any burn, and that is going to be it. Bunnyhoppor moves on.